Hi, I'm Donnie Funk, and I'm running for City Council in District 4. The City of Lee Summit has many critical decisions ahead of it with the undeveloped PRI land coming available to the market. We cannot outgrow our public safety services or our school district. It is imperative we have an open dialogue and collaborate with our citizens, public safety officials, school district, and our community stakeholders regarding the future of our city. I believe I have the experience and leadership skills to help facilitate these conversations so we can grow responsibly. Hope you'll vote for me on April 7th.
Jason, today's episode of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the good people by Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
Hey, did you know that Budget Blinds is the home for Signature Series automated shades? They provide a safer environment for children and pets because of that cordless nature.
They are, and you should hail them, for they are our robot shade overlords.
That's right, folks. So if you are ready to make your home a smart home, go see our friends in downtown Lee Summit at Budget Blinds. Tell them Jason Nick sent you.
Hello again, and welcome to Lee Summit Town Hall, a weekly podcast about what you can do to make a difference. I'm Jason Norbury, and as always, I'm joined by a man who knows what Dixville Notch is, but can't not make the joke in his head. It's Nick Parker, the publisher of Link to Lee Summit.
So basically what you're saying is I'm still 13?
I think if anyone could ever hear our pre-show recordings, they would know that 13 might be an optimistic estimation of what we both are and out there. Link to Lee Summit is the source for all the news you need about this very fine city, and our unofficial sponsor today is schedule juggling. So in our already very busy lives, my wife picked up something that she had really been wanting to do, and it has caused significant upheaval in the comings and goings of us and our children. And I have to be honest, I don't like this kind of change, Nick.
Well, you don't like any change. I mean, let's if we're gonna be honest,
right? I don't like any change.
Look, men of a certain age
do not care for things to be different,
right?
And I'm going to say this as a whole. I'm happy to do this. I'm happy to make this effort because it is. I'm trying to be the good supportive husband here. But man, is it a challenge, like to make those adjustments when you're an old guy who doesn't like to change.
Scheduling is hard, but we are working and we are scheduling hard because, Jason, this is the start of candidate interview season for us. So
That's true.
We just recorded our first one, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later and how the first of the interviews are going to come out on Friday. But first, before we begin, oh boy, Jason, I am excited.
Why are you excited, Nick?
Do you know what happens today?
What is today?
Today.
I mean, other than as we're recording the New Hampshire primary.
No.
Which is not what we're talking about in this podcast today.
Pitchers and catchers report. The baseball season is here. I'm excited.
Baseball season. Are we excited? The Pacoda projections
actually,
came out.
I'm just excited because we just had on video you dancing and singing your baseball song.
There you go.
That was good.
That was excellent.
That was good. Hey, let's dig into some local stuff here. This is kind of a cool thing. So this week is the Take Time to Be Kind week. There's even a cool video from Mayor Bill Baird talking about it. This is a project spearheaded by the Human Relations Commission. I think this is just this seems to be a cool thing catching on for people just to make a concerted effort to do something nice, to be nice
stuff. I think it builds on some things. We had the random acts of kindness bit that was running around downtown for a little while there. We've had these sorts of efforts before. It's cool to see the city getting in on it, encouraging us to do things that are affirmatively nice.
I was told by somebody earlier yesterday that the Human Relations Commission was handing out buttons. They've got the little B on it, the logo, and the Take Time to Be Kind. They're out of buttons. They handed them all out, so it seems like people are.
Did they underestimate how the kindness or the want for kindness in this city? Sounds like they did.
Maybe they did. I don't know, but it's a neat thing. So if you hit the city's website, if you hit their Facebook feed, you'll see the video from the mayor. It's kind of a cool thing, and I think just a nice reminder. Hey guys, make an effort.
Be nice.
Be nice. Be of service. Those are some good things. Let's. What else are we talking about, Jason? Uh-oh. I shouldn't have. I feel like I should not have segued like that.
You started with be kind, and I'm about to not be very kind. Actually, I want to be kind, but the legislature of the state of Missouri is making it very difficult for me to be kind.
So you've got a little something stuck in your craw.
I do. We talked about this last week a little bit about the efforts of the Missouri Senate to pass legislation essentially to amend or overturn portions of the Clean Missouri Act that was passed in 2018 by ballot initiative statewide. I did a little research. So just as an update, on Monday, the Senate passed their resolution for that. It's SJR 38 for those who want to act upon this or look at it. It makes significant changes to the amendment that was put out there. And to be fair, it is going to go, if it passes both houses, it will go to a vote of the people to see if they want to make the change that's different than the change that they voted for earlier. But I don't like it. We have mentioned this a number of times over the years that the legislature has a long and storied history of taking actions to overturn the expressed voted will of the people through ballot initiatives. And while I am not a huge fan of ballot initiatives as a method of governance, when the people speak, the legislature should listen.
Well, let's go backward just a little bit. I know like you said, we did talk about this a little last week, but for anybody who maybe missed last week's episode, which please, why? Listen to us every time, please.
Download.
Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Download and listen every week, 3 times.
But let's just take a minute. I'm going to time you.
Okay.
Why should people? What is it about this issue? Why should people care? Because I think what you're asking is you are asking people to, hey, call your congressman.
Yes.
Call them and let them know that you want them to uphold the vote of the people. But I guess why are you thinking this matters to people in their backyard right here?
So, like I said, I did a little research because I was like, okay, so it passed statewide, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the fine people of Lee Summit voted for it. So I went to the county website, county election board website, and I pulled up, and I did this. I pulled up the Excel spreadsheet file of all the votes.
You got nerdy.
By precinct in the city of Lee Summit. Well, and in Jackson County. So I didn't count the few precincts down in Cass County. I apologize, but I'm not sure you can get that level of detail from Cass County.
Lollygagging.
Anyway, 73% of the voters in Lee Summit, Missouri, voted in favor of this amendment. And the Missouri Legislature has let it exist for 1 year before attempting to come and change it up. And to me, and like I get that there may be things about this that amendment that won't work out in the long term, and we may need to make changes and what have you. But there has been it's patently clear, and given especially the focus on lobbyist gifts, and the big focus is on changing the redistricting program that was brought in that amendment and those changes, that the legislature has no interest in ceding the power of redistricting and their power to accept lobbyist gifts as a back, to the expressed will of the voters of Missouri, and specifically, in this case, the voters of Lee Summit. And so I think it's just one of those things. It's like, it's such a naked ploy to ignore what the people want.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Oh, all right.
And I think because this is also a reason given by some of the senators who voted to pass it through the Senate. There are many issues, and sometimes I agree with this. There are many issues that I don't really care what the polling numbers say, because I think there are a lot of issues that most people don't really truly understand. And that was one of the reasons that was given by some of the senators, is that the people didn't really understand what they were voting on. So what is your response to that?
Well, I think that may be true. But on the flip side of that, we also know that it didn't work. Right? We're not fixing a problem. We have not identified an actual problem yet. It's the people of Missouri voted for something, and the legislature's like, no. And we can go back. There are 2 times since 1978 that the state of Missouri, the people of the state of Missouri by ballot initiative, have raised the minimum wage, and the Missouri legislature has followed them and basically eliminated that raise in the minimum wage twice. Now, this last time, it was done once again by constitutional amendment, and it's taking effect, and we haven't seen an effort by the legislature to do that yet. But I think that people understand what the minimum wage is, And I think in general, they understand that there are things that are about the lobbyist process, the redistricting, or to use the pejorative term, the gerrymandering process by which House seats are delegated are inherently unfair and unbalanced, tilted in favor of whoever happens to be in charge at that point that gets outside of the representation of the people. And whether or not this solution with the nonpartisan state demographer and the math equations and all the things that were required in that were the solution is something that we've literally not had an opportunity to determine. We haven't had a census. We haven't had redistricting yet. We don't know if the system worked or not. And yet the legislature is coming in and telling us in advance, no, that's not what you wanted. You wanted to leave the power. And I think this is the tell here. They wanted to place the power back into the hands of the legislature to pick the parties who picked the districts.
So, if this is an issue for you, Jason, how can people make their voice heard?
Well, as after it left the Senate on Tuesday, it was first read by the Missouri House of Representatives. There are a number of Missouri House reps who represent portions or entirely in the city of Lee Summit. Two that are easy is Representative Patterson, who represents like the Lakewood area and down into the northern part of Lee Summit, south of Lakewood, and Representative Carrie Engel, who represents downtown and some of the southern and western parts of the city. Call them. Give them your opinion. Now, this can be a pro, or you can easily disagree with me, even though I am right. Now,
That's always your answer.
It is. But you can disagree. You can disagree with me. You may think that what was passed was a dumb idea and we should go back. Then you should call your representative and tell them that. If you're one of those of the 27% of Lee Summiters who voted against this, by all means, you should call them and do that. And those who voted in favor of this should call them and ask them simply this. You've got the opinion of the people who represent you. You should listen. And go, or who you represent, I'm sorry, you should listen to that and see where we are and then maybe make changes. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then we can go and make those changes because we know it doesn't work. We did that with, as a country, we did that with prohibition. We've repealed laws and we've changed laws as our understanding of things have changed. But a year after the ballot initiative was passed to come in and attempt to upturn it when we haven't even had a chance to see whether or not the stuff actually works. We haven't even gone through an election cycle since this has been done, so we don't know how the campaign finance rules or any of these things work. It seems pretty poor to me.
Well, I think it really all comes down to this: is no matter where you sit, as far as what side, make your voice heard. It matters.
Absolutely.
This is an opportunity to impact change, no matter which side you're on. So
and I would say that
we always encourage people to be involved, to make their voice heard, and here's one you can do that.
Right, and this is one of those. This is that second level up, right? You're going to get the sort of the most direct impact because you are of the smallest amount of people when you're talking about calling your city council members or even the mayor and expressing an opinion on a matter of local concern. Well, your next bet is the Missouri House of Representatives, and those reps, like those representatives, are the ones that are the next sort of smallest chunk. And just a few phone calls can really make a difference on how a politician views something. If they think there's real motivated voters who are willing to act on it, they're gonna listen.
Well, you just talked about local issues and local politicians, and that plays right into where we're at and where our episode on Friday is going to be. This will be the first chance, Jason, for us to offer the voices of some of the candidates running for office. We're going to start with District 1 candidates for City Council. So on Friday, you will hear from Steve Lambert, Robert Dye, and Hillary Shields, all three vying for that seat that will be open as Councilmember Rob Binney is now term limited out. So this is your chance. This is your chance to hear a little bit about them and what inspired them to run, maybe what some of the issues and opportunities they see coming up in the future.
We do make them answer the toughest question of the day.
That's true. Don't you worry. We are asking the hard-hitting question.
Team Taco.
That's right. Jason, it's a light week, really.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get those interviews out on Friday. I like this time of year for us. I like meeting these people. I like kind of poking them a little bit so that they can get their ideas out and people can get to know them, because we want people to go vote, and we want people to be informed as they go vote.
Absolutely, and we like making those candidates just a little bit uncomfortable so they can't just stick to their pat answers. Try to poke them and press them a little bit to get them just a bit out of that comfort zone, so maybe we can find out what they really think.
It's just a little poke.
Yeah.
A little poke. But so tune in on Friday. That's going to wrap us up for this week. We'll talk to everybody next time. I'm going to give one more sponsor thank you, Jason. A big thank you to Shred KC, who has for many, many months, they have helped bring the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast to the people of Lee Summit.
And I got to say this, they have brought the average fitness level of this podcast up by their mere presence.
That's true. I can live vicariously through those people.
Because I have been dragging it down for many more months than that.
Hey, look, if you are ready to make a change, live your life a little more healthy, eat better, get more fit, go see our friends at Shred KC. They are the positive influence and the knowledgeable minds that you need in your life. Tell them Jason Nick sing you. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.